What's going on, fellas? It's Cadron. I am back with another video on Super Smash Bros. And I did not say Ultimate because today we're going to be talking about Melee, because as you guys have probably already seen, Melee is no longer included in the lineup for EVO this year. Well, it wasn't going to be included for this year, but Melee has been in EVO consistently in the past for many years. And now we see that it is replaced entirely by Ultimate. So we have other fighting games as well, to name a few: Mortal Kombat 11, Dragon Ball FighterZ. So Smash Ultimate's there, but Melee's not. And in the past, like, Melee was just always there, even though, like, the other games were, for the most part, modern. You know, like Mortal Kombat 11 and Dragon Ball FighterZ, they're in the past year. There's, Street Fighter 5, that's still new. But, yeah, Melee is, what, now it's over 17 years old. And I think the fact that we finally have another Smash game that is competitive. Now, I know a lot of Melee fans will argue and they'll say, well, it doesn't have the same sort of tech and all that. And that's something that is worthy of discussion. I wouldn't dismiss it right away. I'd say that that's worthy of discussion. But I would say that Smash Ultimate absolutely is a competitive game, just as Melee is a competitive game. Not in the same aspects, because Melee has like certain tech that Ultimate does not have. That isn't to say that we won't find out about more tech in Ultimate in the future, because that's what happened with Melee too. Nobody knew how to do a bunch of the mechanics in Melee until years after the game came out. So Ultimate still has that potential to grow into a competitive game. But at this point, no, it doesn't have the same sort of tech. It has some different tech, though. It has original tech that Melee doesn't have. And people will most likely say that, well, Melee is still a faster-paced game. And in some aspects, that's true. I wouldn't say in all aspects that's true. They're different games, but the bottom line is they're both competitive fighters. Unlike Brawl and Smash 4 that were slower paced, they favor defensive play. Ultimate and Melee both favor offensive play, and that's something that's really great for the competitive scene. So seeing Ultimate come here as the new game, it's competitive. It might not be the same as Melee. It's not going to be the same as Melee, guys. But it is going to be very entertaining to watch because it is a very competitive fighter. And it's more modern. And, you know, every other game there is a modern game. So with Melee being the one old one, because, yeah, at this point, Melee kind of is an old game now. It's going to be 18 years old at the end of this year. That's insane. Melee is going to be no longer a minor if it were a human being. Like, that is crazy. So, yeah, that's the reason why. It's just because of how old it is, and it's kind of, I don't want to say outdated, but in terms of, like, graphics, not that graphics really matter too much, but for these kind of events where they want to keep, like, modern games, like, what's new and popular, Ultimate is new and popular. You see, like, a lot of the Melee players switching from Melee to Ultimate, and they might end up going back at some point, but they also might not. Some of them already have, like Mango, I know, prefers to play Melee over Ultimate, absolutely. But some of the other players, like Armada, for instance, Leffen, like, you see them playing a lot of Ultimate on YouTube, even, like, months after the game's release. Now, does that mean they're gonna just eventually stop playing Melee forever, like, indefinitely? No, I wouldn't say that. Is Melee dead? Now, this is a big topic of discussion, too. Because this is a sign, like, people might be scared, like, hey, does this mean Melee is going to stop being in any major tournaments? And then eventually, will it even fade out of many locals? And that is a very true thing to fear. That's definitely something to worry about if you're a hardcore Melee fan, because that's something that absolutely could happen. Am I saying it's going to happen? No. But it definitely could. So it's something to be skeptical on, because, you know, Melee has such a hardcore community that will, like, put that game above anything else. No matter what Smash game comes out in the future, there will always be a group of people that will love Melee the most. And no other Smash game really has that strong of a fan base. Other than maybe Ultimate. Maybe Ultimate will be another game like that. Like, 20 years from now, people will be praising Ultimate still. I don't really know, though. I just know Melee is a game like that. So, is it dying? I'd say it's definitely declining. I wouldn't say it's dying, because it definitely still has a strong community. A community strong enough to already make a mod of Ultimate. that's similar to Project M. Like, yeah, guys, that's the thing. It started like a month into Ultimate. People are already trying to mod it to make it like Melee. I don't understand why, because even though it's different, Ultimate's still a very competitive game. It's just different than Melee, but, you know, people want it to be Melee again, just with more characters, I guess. I really don't know, guys. Not to criticize anybody who is a Melee fan. That's definitely not what I'm trying to do, but I am trying to point out the fact that Ultimate is its own game and it is competitive, and while it isn't really a replacement for Melee, in terms like this and these like big events, like they're going to want to use modern games, so Ultimate is going to kind of replace Melee in that circumstance. Now, do I think that Melee will fade out of locals? No. I think people will be playing Melee at locals for a very long time. People will be carrying the big CRT TVs over to like the tournament venues, and I think that's gonna happen for a long time because Melee is just so popular in that scene that I don't think, no matter like how much Ultimate takes over these big events, I don't think Melee is going to be replaced at the local level. And I think there are still going to be some big tournaments that do have Melee. I just don't think it's going to be ones like EVO. I think some of the bigger like Smash specific tournaments may like have Melee, and maybe even EVO would have Melee in the future again if the fans want it. That's definitely something to consider. It's just right now a lot of the pros are playing Ultimate just because, you could say just because it's new, but it's not just because it's new. It's because it's a good game too, and it's a competitive game too, and it is a new game. Like that's something for sure. Ultimate definitely is going to have a decline as well. Ultimate's at like a peak right now, I'd say. Not necessarily its overall peak in terms of its lifespan, but I'd say it is at a peak of some sorts right now because it is new and a lot of people are hopping on it. A lot of people got Switches around Christmas time. A lot of the pro players are playing it right now. There's big tournaments, like before there was Genesis, or the beginning of this month. Now we have EVO with Ultimate again. So yeah, Ultimate is on a peak of some sorts in terms of popularity. And I think soon after this, it will start to maybe decline a bit. Maybe Melee will sort of catch back up to it, kind of for a bit. I think Ultimate, though, in the end, is going to end up being the more popular game going forward, just because of it's new. It's easy to obtain. Like Melee, to set up at tournaments, you have to use old TVs, which are dying. Eventually, they're gonna just stop working. A lot of those older model TVs, you could still find those TVs for sale, but eventually, guys, they're not being made anymore. They're just gonna run out of those older type TVs, and with things like the input lag and stuff like that, with using a modern screen, it's very complicated. Whereas Smash Ultimate, it's just a Switch. You just buy a Switch at the store, you set it up in your TV with your nice HDMI, very simple, and that's it. Like, it's so much easier to set up a Switch than it is for actual GameCube, which is why I think that, well, that's one of the main reasons I think too that Ultimate's going to end up coming out on top eventually. But definitely, guys, I want to stress, Melee is not dead. It's just that Ultimate is going to be a bit more popular going forward. And if you disagree with me, I'd definitely like to hear your thoughts on that, if you think Melee is going to rise back on top again. Right now, I'd say Ultimate's definitely way ahead of Melee, just because it's at its peak right now. But I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think Melee's going to come back up? Do you think we're going to see Melee at EVO again? And maybe after the next Smash game, is Ultimate going to get replaced? Because I think that actually is something that's going to be a staple in Smash now. I think now that we have Ultimate, I don't think we're going to have another Smash game for a very long time. But I think that when we do get one, it's going to maintain this sort of style that Ultimate has and being like accessible to new players while still being very competitive. And I think we're going to get that, and after that, it'll just be like every Smash is just replacing the next one, sort of like how every other fighting game works. Like Mortal Kombat 10 isn't played anymore at EVO, now that 11's out, there's no need for it. You know, with past Smash games, it was just that the newer ones were just so strange and chaotic compared to Melee, like where they weren't really competitive, they just were kind of random and had strange mechanics that broke the game and deterred people away from competitive play and just made people think it was like a party game for casual players, which kind of was true. So that's why Melee was played for so long. But going forward, I think every Smash game from now on is going to have a certain degree of competitiveness like Ultimate has. So I think that we're going to see just the new Smash game, and I think that's how it's going to be from now on probably. So that's something that's interesting to think about. I'd definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you're new to the channel, definitely click that subscribe button. I have a lot of videos on Smash Ultimate. I'm going to be doing character guides. I already have quite a few up already, as well as guides for tech, speculative videos talking about DLC and other things to expect. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really helps out. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to stay connected with me, definitely click the link in the description to join my Discord server. There you can talk to me, talk to other viewers of my videos, and get notified on when my new videos come out without getting those annoying YouTube notifications. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. This is Cager, and I'll see you in the next one.